يا ربي صل على النبي على آل رسول الله خير الأنام وآله يا ربي صل على النبي.
One of the amazing things when we study Islam and when we look at the message of our deen, we quickly realize that although the message came so far away back in time, more than 1400 years, but you find that it has a lot of application in a lot of modern day life. This is one of the beautiful things about Islam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in His wisdom in how He created us, and in all His creations, He knew what was there, what was to be, what was to come, what was to happen. And He made sure that the last of the messages, Al-Quran al-Kareem, that it captured all these teachings. So when He created our father Adam, and He asked him not to waver, and to be shaky and weak to shaitan, this was supposed to be ibrah, lessons to us. And then He sent us one of the most outstanding human beings to guide us to be a caller to Islam and a messenger of God, Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So we know the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whom we have pledged to follow when we say, wa ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. And this model that is very dear to us in our hearts, even the weak Muslims, when you travel the earth, and when you go to different communities, even those who are not practicing Muslims, but when it comes to our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they keep mentioning his name very dearly. And they hope to be like him, alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is all in the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He gave us a message that is everlasting. And He gave us a model that is also everlasting. And in the same hikmah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also created other beings. For example, He created a shaitan as a test, as imtihan to us, as a fitna to us, as a trial to us, for His slaves. And the scholars have warned us about madakhil shaitan, the inroad of shaitan, how he comes and yuwaswis, whispers to you, calls you to those things sometimes that are not good, that are not right. And in this madakhil shaitan, which I have no time to talk about because it is not the subject of today, but very quickly, the scholars of Islam have talked about al-hirs wal-hasad, envy and jealousy. They have talked about this uncontrolled anger, ghadab, that sometimes gets to us and it overtakes us. But amazingly, the third thing that they deal with is the love of this excessive food and drink. And the scholars have mentioned this excessive love of food. It's not about because you are hungry, that now you want to eat. Because that is a normal function of the human being. But what they are saying is that they are recognizing that there is a very damaging habit that is out there, a practice in society where we exhibit excessive love of food and drink. And you see that in the societies we live in of today, where food is hyped, food in a hurry, the fast foods, everything in a hurry of that nature, to hype your desires. Because once these desires start coming out, they become excessive, and love comes in of doing that, then it becomes an uncontrollable desire. And it is one of those things, min madakhil shaitan, of our shaitan gets to us. We live at a time when the buzzwords, even in the politics of today, when you just listen to what they're saying in these gatherings, whether it is the Democrats or whoever, there's talk about health, health care, health issues. So if you think about this, what they're saying is what Islam has said long ago, to be conscious of yourself, to take care of yourself. And it has put a plan out there, Islam, for the human being. And I'm saying human being because here again, we want to showcase our deen, that it is a message that has called to this throughout time. Walhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He gave us this message of La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, He gave us a plan for humanity at large. And so there are values and there are benefits that we get from society. And as we put this into society, our society becomes more stable. That is why we have programs like Ramadan, which we just finished. The Sunnah fasting of Mondays and Thursdays. And as the Rasul ﷺ told the young people who are unable to get married, who cannot afford it, alaykum bisawm. To you is fasting. Because fasting brings a sense of control, not only on your behavior and character, but your desires as well, one of which is the desire of eating and drinking. So it's a sense of a check on your physical body, your well-being. Meaning that Islam is concerned about the physical body. It is therefore necessary that each and every Muslim, we must ensure that the physical body is kept healthy. And that way the soul and the spirit remains healthy as well. It helps the believer to stand ready to serve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It gives you the energy. It gives you the ability when you are healthy to do things for the sake of La ilaha illallah. So a message coming to Arabia at a time when it wasn't a prosperous time of the world. There were many wars during that time. Poverty was common and popular among the people. Why would our deen then at that time, from then on, put so much emphasis on this? Why do we keep on reading in the Quran al-Kareem, where Allah is instructing us not to follow the way of a shaitan and equating our diet when it is messed up as if we are following the ways of shaitan? يا أيها الناس كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. O mankind, eat what is lawful and what is good of the earth. Do not follow the footsteps of a shaitan, for he is an open enemy. And so in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has equated these poor health lifestyles of bad eating habits to be the ways of shaitan. Now shaitan, we all know from the teachings of Islam, an ugly beast. They're not talked about as shayateen as being pretty looking. Ugly beasts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us about the intention of shaitan to harm us, mislead us, divide us, cause a lot of havoc in our lives. And he compares our dietary aspects, our healthy lifestyles. When we don't stay within the healthy lifestyles, then we are following the same ugly beast and his ways. When you study Islam, because diet plays an important role in our lives and in our health, you'll find that there are good reasons why Islam has prohibited certain foods because of their ill effects, their bad effects. It permitted other good and pure things, clean food products. Because Allah says in the noble Quran, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كلوا من طيبات ما رزقناكم واشكروا لله إن كنتم إياه تعبدون. O believers, eat of the good and pure, what is lawful of course, that we have provided you, and be grateful to Allah if you truly worship Him. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created us all, knew what was to be, what was to come. He knew that one of its major problems that we have today is on its way. If it wasn't then, because people were poor and starving and struggling, when people become prosperous, then it will come our way, what we now know as gluttony, overeating, waistlines that are 38, 40, 42, when you only are 5 feet tall, no more than 6 feet. The Surgeon General in this country produced a report year after year indicating that the biggest cause of diseases is overeating. Now it is known that 2/3 of the population in the United States eat in excess and therefore are obese. With it coming many other health problems. As you can imagine, the diabetes that is on the rise. People in their 50s and 40s are on cholesterol medication of some type. High blood pressure medication of some type. They're not even in their 70s yet, when things are falling apart in the body. They're not even at that age already. And they're already on some sort of medication. So, in a sense, there is a failure of self-control. What Ramadan was all about, what the teachings of Islam were all about, to bring a sense of self-control on our desires, a check on our desires. And Allah is warning us about our physical body, because a Muslim in general is advised to eat good and pure things, and not to indulge in impure matters, things that are bad and harmful, things that openly follow our enemy as shaitan. In some countries that I visited, there is so much food that is cooked and not enough people to eat that it is trashed at the end of the day. And right across the ocean, there is a Muslim country where people are dying out of starvation and hunger. Talking about following the ways of a shaitan. The failure of self-control has produced risks, not only of things like diabetes, stroke. Now they are talking about how obesity and a bad diet has influence on things like breast cancer for women and other types of cancers. Because our diets, where we consumed large amounts of carbohydrates, sugars, polysaturated fats. I was listening to a program during Ramadan, one of the prominent physicians of this country, who may have some roots to Islam ancestrally. Many of you have heard of the name Dr.Awadh. And he's saying, there was being questioned about Islam and Muslims and fasting and the benefits of it. And he says there's a lot of benefits from fasting, that cleansing aspect of your body. But he says the problem with Muslim communities, where an adult is supposed to consume not more than 2,000 calories a day, depending on your size, 1,500 calories a day, by the end of the night, we have consumed well above 4,000 calories of the days of fasting. Twice what you usually eat. It is not uncommon to find Muslims in Ramadan, they've gained weight. Because we never pay attention to those subtle messages of what that month is all about. Islam teaches us the many etiquettes of eating and drinking. Rasul made a point of living a remarkably clean life, although if you look, he was poor, he was not a rich man wealth-wise. Healthy eating habits among his followers. He asked the companions to wash their hands before and after they eat, to praise Allah before they eat, using the right hand, not eating until when you feel hungry, not to eat and drink excessively, as we are told, وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا إِنَّهُ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. Eat and drink, wear waste not in extravagance. Certainly He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, likes not those who waste in extravagance. So I was away in the summer and I had a chance to visit Muslim communities. One of the questions in the halaqah, knowing that I was from a medical background, was why do we see an increase? Almost every household, there's at least one person that has diabetes. Why are we seeing this? Is it the air? They're asking. Is it the toxins in the environment? What's happening? And obviously, one of the main reasons of that is that we are overweight, we don't pay attention to a good diet, and before long, diabetes sets in. The World Health Organization is now saying that about 1/5 of the human race, which means over 1 billion people, over 1 billion adults, not even children, they're saying, they are considered obese and overweight. And then you add the stress factors of life of today. Gotta get to work, we gotta get on the superhighways, we gotta get on the internet, we gotta go, we gotta do this, we gotta do that, all these stress factors that are out there. And with this bad diet that you have, you're not taking care of yourself, you have a very bad mix. That's why now also we're seeing an increase of psychological cases amongst Muslims. People now who need to be on antidepressants because they are undergoing some sort of a depression. Because life has brought so many things their way, they're not taking care of themselves, got these other stress factors. What a bad mix. So what did our beloved Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam do? He encouraged us to live these healthy lifestyles. His diet contained mostly fruits, dates, staples, staple food, honey, things that were good, fresh dates, for example. When sitting down to eat, he only ate that which was close to him, sat like a poor person, never filled his stomach, never ate until he was unable to breathe. I was in one of the Muslim communities during the month of Ramadan. And after the invitation, everybody has ate. When Isha was due, and now it was time to turn to Ibadah, and go and pray Tarawih and all these other things. And the brothers are unable to move. They don't want to go anywhere. And they say, oh, I'll wake up at night and pray. I need some rest. Why would you mean that if you were supposed to keep 1/3 of your food, 1/3 of the air, 1/3 of the water, and you don't overeat? And eating healthy is not a complicated process. As the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam showed us, it is not a complicated process. It doesn't have to be a stress. It's like, oh well, how am I going to start changing my lifestyle? I'm so used to this, I've tried this and that, I've gotten this program and that program and nothing is happening. My brothers in Islam and my sisters in Islam, لازم واحد يتحرك. You have to get out there, do something, get moving. Let that blood circulate in you. Don't just sit around on a sofa. From work you go home, from home you go work, and then it ends. You have to follow what nutritionists have told us are excellent eating ways. Small meals spread throughout the day to activate your metabolism. Get some exercise. Get some cardiovascular exercise. Walk, run, do some weight training if you're getting to that age. Because at a certain age, the human body loses up to 15% of your muscle mass every 4 or 5 years. So unless you do weight training, weight-bearing exercises, to give yourself some strength. Because you know, the fuqaha, they agree. Once you start praying sitting down, your thawab is reduced 50% from the one who's standing. And the one who is laying down is 25%. So your ajr becomes less and less if you're not observing the proper postures of as-salah. And given that you are allowed to pray when you're sitting, when you're sick, you are unable to do it, obviously. But you see, if you're in bad health, then you can imagine that comes faster than you wanted to set in. Health is a blessing. From an Islamic perspective, when our Rasul ﷺ in one instance, he mounted the minbar and then tears started flowing. He said, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness, for tawbah, and health. For after being granted certainty, yaqeen, one is given nothing better than health. These are some of the teachings we should understand, put in place. Because health is a favor that Allah has granted us, His slaves. We should express gratitude to Allah by taking care of ourselves. Why am I saying this now? You know, if you listen to what is going on, the discussions in this country, you hear these figures that don't even make sense. How does this happen? There's over 2.5 trillion with a T that this country spends on health care. With a T. So obviously people are not taking care of themselves. And why shouldn't Muslims be in the forefront of doing that? If the message of our deen teaches us this. Remember the teaching of the Rasul ﷺ that he used to compete with Aisha radiallahu anha. And Aisha would beat her in the early days. And then later on the Rasul ﷺ defeated her. And there are many instances like these where the Sahaba had amazing feats of fitness that they would show, which we don't have time to go into. Suffice that in every Muslim there should be a desire to undertake the necessary action to preserve good health. That is why Rasulullah says, take care of 5 things before the other 5. One of which he mentioned, your health before you get to illness. And as you get older, you have more illness coming your way. It's the nature of the body. Those that because to have a long life, we reverse them in creation. They become like little children. They are not healthy anymore, unable to eat, they have to be fed, unable to walk properly, you have to hold their hand. We know of this teaching, which means as you get older, you become like a little child once again, needing attention. And so don't be a burden to society. Take care of yourself. This Friday, the Friday of September 21st, after Jum'ah Salah, up to 4 p.m., right here in the Islamic Center of Tennessee, a program known as ICT Million Hearts Initiative is a free community health check. It will feature screening, blood pressure, blood glucose, body mass index, many of us have never heard of this, and it determines how obese you are. And don't worry, even if you are, there's a way out, and the way out will be told, and you can do something for yourself. One time we were in a health fair. Someone walked in and their blood pressure was checked, and it was sky high. So he's given medical advice and he's told, you know, right now you need to be like in an ER of some kind, an emergency room. Your blood pressure is no good at all. You are a ticking bomb right now. And the man leaves and says, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of it. As if it was no big deal. Then they fall and they get a stroke and they get this and that, and then they become a burden to the family, they become a burden to the community, they become a burden to society, they become a burden to the healthcare system. Why shouldn't we take care of ourselves when our deen teaches us that? What's wrong with doing that? Well, this is part of the model, that example that I started with, our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we want to mimic and follow. My fellow Muslims, this program planned to stay after Salat al-Jum'ah on that day. We want everyone to come prepared for this. So plan in advance to stay, participate. Then they also want to do a Girl Scout. on September 7th, right here at ICT at 6 p.m. And one of the things they want to address, because things have to start when you're young, is healthy lifestyles. So people can become more conscious of these things. So you see, our deen is not only about ibadah and praying and reading the Quran and trying to follow all those things that we want to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It extends to these other spheres of life. So we have to take it as a complete message and do these things. I encourage myself as I encourage you to pay attention to these things. The Islamic Center of Tennessee wants also to organize hikes, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, when the weather gets better, inshallah, in the month of October. And I hope that you will take advantage and get out there and move around and get that blood circulating. أقول ما تسمعون واستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين واحد الأحد الفرد الصمد الذي لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين ومن والاه. Another area of importance that I want to bring to your attention is, given at the stage where we are in our country, there's a lot of issues going on, and the name Islam and Muslims have come up in different circumstances. One of which is what is happening in the media. And there's a lot of negative media publications out there. And as we have heard before in this masjid and other places, is that until Muslims start to voice what their deen is about, other people are going to talk about it. And so what people are trying to do is sometimes to capture the life and the story of the life of a person who took a journey from being a non-Muslim to Islam. And so one of our brothers here is doing that. This particular individual converted from Buddhism and became a Muslim. His name is Muhammad Anwar. When he was into hip-hop and all those types of things. But despite his success, he walked away and he wanted to live in accordance with the teachings of Islam. And when you're in that kind of a life before, and the journey that you're in, and soul searching and all these kinds of trials and fitna, and then you come into Islam, you have a lot to say and to tell the others. What led you to Islam? When you were successful maybe in whatever you were doing, as far as you consider yourself successful. So there's a brother who is working on this documentary, and he wants to show it between Maghrib and Isha. Because it's a message of some kind, it's da'wah. And da'wah comes in many fashions. Could be somebody talking on TV and explaining about what Islam is. Could be you talking to others about Islam. It could be you living as a Muslim, as an example to others to see. It could be small, subtle messages in documentaries and things like that. And so they have their own value, because already somebody who has seen an initial version of this is already thinking of becoming a Muslim. So we make dua for this person and others to also come closer to Allah and follow the ways of Islam. So today, after Maghrib, between Maghrib and Isha, we're asking you to show up and see this. And inshallah, take part, learn, and support these things. One of the sad stories that we're going through, generally in Western countries, but now even when you go to underdeveloped countries like Africa, Asia, and other places, you'll find that it's the same message that is going on. Not only here, but the media here has also influenced the media there as well. So even there's also an attack on the ways of Islam and Muslims in general. So unless we are out there to start promoting ourselves, not necessarily, we're talking about a positive way to showcase Islam, that Islam is a beautiful message and a message of peace. Until this is more and more out there, we will still be dealing with this negativity that is being propagated right now. So inshallah, you'll find time to come to this and other activities. I don't have time to make the other announcements, but if you stay behind for 2-3 minutes, the brother will continue with those, inshallah. Ibadallah, inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على طاعتك. بارك الله لي ولكم بالقرآن والسنة، ونفعني وإياكم بما فيهما من الآيات وذكر الحكمة. أقول ما تسمعون وأقيموا الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله أعلم ما تصنعون. قم إلى الصلاة.